Hey everyone, this is Guy, one of the, well, I guess you'd call me a co-founder of Disk Space. I'm just here to tell you in advance that these first couple of episodes are going to be kind of rough. Please forgive us as we figure out our footing. In addition to that, as we talk about the video games for each episode in pretty great detail, spoilers ahead. If you're concerned about being spoiled from the game, feel free to go, play it, come back. We'll be here when you get back. With that said, hope you forgive the mess, and enjoy the show.
Disk Space.
Welcome to our inaugural episode of Disk Space, an FN original roundtable talk show podcast where we all play a game once a month and then talk about it. That was incredibly reductive.
That's like Book of the Month Club.
We don't play the game once a month. We play one game over the course of a month.
Yes.
Oh, that's what we've been doing. Oh, I listened to those instructions terribly wrong.
Or like over
Beautiful.
a couple of days, but...
I finished it very quickly.
Or in my situation, on a single 8-hour session this Wednesday.
You know what?
Absolutely fucking
Everyone
rage.
does. Alright. I'm Guy. I'm sort of moderator. I'm also Pippin McKeel on Ghosts on a Train. Next up we have whoever's jumping in, I guess.
The other ghost guy.
The other ghost guy. It's me. I'm Greg. I'm the conductor, which is the game master / editor on Ghosts on a Train. But now I'm here.
Now he's here. We're very professional.
And I am Tony. I play Rashak on East Coast Adventures and am Faustian Nonsense's marketing director. And excited to talk about some video juegos. Is that the correct juegos? Not huevos. Okay.
Yeah, definitely not huevos.
Video eggs.
That is something else entirely.
All right, I'll go next then. My name's Bryan Malave. I am the dungeon master for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that we run on East Coast Adventures. So it's my job to torture Tony's character as much as possible.
I believe you mean Dungeon Daddy. Thank you.
Yes, Dungeon Daddy.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I am
You
dungeon
got the daddy hat and
daddy.
everything.
Yes, the hat's in the other room, unfortunately.
I'm gonna need to see the daddy hat after this, maybe.
Yes, I'll definitely show you afterwards.
Later in a private call.
Audio media, everybody.
It's
It is
fantastic.
It's a long walk to the other side of the house. But...
Oh, yeah.
I am... Not recording video. I am Kai Gwilym Pritchard. I do everything on Chain of Being except for playing characters that aren't the one I play. I also make... like sound arts pieces to just, freak people out.
Nice.
Yeah, I do sound a lot. That's my thing.
So good that listeners are listening to this sound right now.
This is editing Guy from the future cutting in to let you know that Kai is not editing this episode. Please do not give them a hard time for the shitty job that I'm doing. And with that, back to your regular scheduled nonsense. Now, as we're a round table, these individuals are maybe not always going to be consistent. Get, different voices, different feelings, different people, different experiences. Coming in to talk about things that we all care about, which is video games and distracting from the hateful world outside.
Distractions.
Yay! Escapism.
Yeah.
This month, we played Titanfall 2. Now, Kai actually suggested it.
I did.
What made you pick Titanfall 2, if I was to pick your brain a little bit?
I think because I had been recently playing it with Eve, who is my girlfriend, for context, and we I don't know, I was very much enjoying it, and I'd been watching a lot of, videos about it, and, why it kind of didn't do so well, but is a very, very good game regardless, and I think, just playing it, I had a lot of fun, it's I think, one of the best games I've played. I'm a big shooter guy, I was sort of raised on Halo, so, that's my thing, and my goblin gamer brain can't move slower than a walk, so when I get to run on walls and sprint and teleport and shit, that's just I need that. Otherwise, why am I walking when I can run? So yeah, that's kind of the main thing for me. I just like it a lot. I don't know.
Beautiful.
I personally am not much of a shooter guy at all. Like, my aim is garbage. That's why when I played Overwatch back in the day, I played tanks because I didn't have to aim. I just had big hammer. It's all good. No aiming required. Big shield, big hammer, big German lad. Just walk forward. No brain.
That was me on Lucio. Just push people off a wall.
But Titanfall 2 is like really enjoyable. Just the movement alone felt really good.
They've got it down to a T, basically, in terms of like how it feel. You feel free running around in the kind of settings they drop you in. It's good.
Now, I would like to talk just a little bit about the pilot's gauntlet as just as an introduction to the game.
We should like ease into the scenario too, because I realize we've talked about like Titanfall 2. It's a shooter, you move around in it, but like we haven't talked about what it is exactly.
No, we have not. So, Titanfall 2, how does one describe a video game?
It's interesting because Titanfall 2 finally actually had a story mode, and Titanfall 1 apparently did not really have a true campaign.
It sort of did, but didn't really. Like,
it was basically just the multiplayer, so it kind of really added a story to this like really advanced first-person shooter. So it's very technical, it's very fast, and it definitely added a more like cohesive sci-fi narrative that was pretty easy to follow.
Yeah, it took the really good mechanics and then gave it a reason to do them. Like, otherwise it was just like, you know, not that you need a reason to get into a giant robot, but it was kind of gave us some nice context.
Yeah, and it wasn't terrible either. I honestly was expecting a half-assed campaign just to say that there was a campaign for the second game, and I was thoroughly surprised by it.
But yeah, it starts off with the gauntlet, which is like the tutorial kind of level.
Yeah, it's like in a simulation, isn't it? And you're being trained. The character. Is this a spoiler? Okay, zone? Are we not?
Because we're about to actually like get into the game, and just due to the nature of how this show works, of us all playing a game, however much or however little sort of we want before end of the month get together, talk about it. This is going to be spoiler heavy, so unfortunately, if you haven't played the game and would like to, but also want to hear us talk about it, there's a weird sort of impasse that we're at here.
We could avoid maybe like super duper like end gamey spoilers maybe, but like we could talk about the contents.
Yeah, let's save sort of like maybe narrative spoilers for towards the end, but game is cheap, can pick it up relatively easily on the Epic Store or probably a physical copy.
And Xbox Game Pass has it as well. That's how I played it. Because I got Xbox Game Pass for Yakuza 0, and it happened to also had Titanfall 2. So that's how I was able to play it for $1 a month.
And if you don't hate EA, you can always do their EA Pass for like whatever's like $15 a year, and it's on there.
That's very true, too. Very accessible game, though, and very fun. I was surprised. There were 60 people watching it on Twitch, which really shows how the mighty have kind of, well, we're never, I guess, so mighty to begin with.
It's cool. Respawn's doing fine. Apex Legends is a thing.
That's very true.
Yeah,
in the same universe.
Yeah, which is interesting that is in the same universe as well. That they've kind of expanded it.
They're bringing Ash, aren't they, into Apex Legends, which is quite cool. Because I did like her as a villain. But sorry, that's later in the thing. But
in games, just like in general, one of the things that I adore is symmetry, especially just like narrative and like mechanical symmetry, all just sort of like working together for the same goal. When things like that just sort of mesh neatly, I love that shit. And the Pilot's Gauntlet, it might be one of the best examples I've seen for a tutorial. In just, not only is it literally you as the player being trained on like how to move, how to do all of these things and feel it out in this kind of no stakes environment. At the same time, that's exactly what it is doing for
that's
you.
What bright-eyed Matt Mercer is doing.
Yeah.
I just wanna can I real quick digress? I booted up the game on my PS4. I downloaded for the PS4. And Matthew Mercer began like with his best like, oh gosh, golly, like monologue about like, oh, being in a space war is pretty cool, but the coolest people in the space war are mech pilots. They rule. It's just like, whoa, Mr. Mercer.
Yes, we all love big mech robots. We feel ya.
Exactly. So like the protagonist is just as excited as you, and it's super duper goofy, but like Mercer sells it because he's Matt Mercer.
Oh, of course.
That's another thing that I really like about the game. Everything feels really genuine, just like narratively, and like all of the characters. Like everything feels like it's just kind of wholesome. Like between the little dialogue options that you can sort of use to talk to BT, your mech, you can choose to be like kind of an asshole, like joke, and they'll kind of joke back as well. Or just be like, my love, my heart, my soul, my big robot.
I fucking love BT so much. I want to give him a hug.
Yeah, without going like too deep into the spoilers, the narrative was not overtly complex or trying to be anything more than like a first person shooter kind of narrative, but it was better than like most of the Call of Duty like narratives and stuff I've done and played, and I think they did a really good job of like establishing that connection between the main character and BT, his Titan. And I think that really does a good job of like building the world, and that Titans aren't just robots made for war. They're sentient AI that are your friend and they're your partners. It's a bond between them. And that's kind of, I think, is really cool. I'm not super experienced in mecha. I don't know how commonly that's like a common theme in mecha, but I thought it was really sweet and really endearing that you have this connection with your robot that's just not just your tool. Yeah. It's not like it's not like your car.
I would die for him.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I would die for BT.
I would die for BT.
I have died for BT.
Plenty of times.
Oh,
we have all died for BT.
Yeah. But going back to the gauntlet though, I do find it extremely satisfying to just run through it over and over and over. There's this part of my brain that I'm not like great at speedrunning or anything like this. I don't know the mechanics, but just shaving off seconds and seconds. Like, did anyone else do this where they actually run through it over and over, or is it just?
So I was going to ask, are we going to discuss? Yeah, are we going to shame times here?
Mine was pretty not great. I don't remember.
I got under a minute.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not going to say how much under a minute.
It wasn't much for me.
I'm simply built different. It seems I did it once and I got like a minute 3 seconds and I was like, that's fine.
You're like, oh, thank God the tutorial's almost over.
I must have ran it a good like 6 times. What's fun is apparently canonically in game there is a strat with like a grenade jump that like players do, and they actually added in a voice line like that's canonically the way that you do like the fastest times. I think it's hilarious.
That's great.
That's meta. I love that.
Pilots are blowing themselves up to try and like get through this thing fastest.
Just like, yeah, he get the number 1 time, but he broke both his legs in the process, or something like that. I'll have to dig it up later. It's really good.
I managed to get mine to like 34 seconds, I think.
That's awesome.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, it's insane.
Oh my God.
You're the pilot Matt Mercer was talking about.
I am obsessed with this gauntlet. I play it more time, like most of my time playing Titanfall is doing the gauntlet than the actual campaign or multiplayer. I fucking love it so much. I just over and over. I'm fast and strong and sick and awesome.
But, like, that's exactly what I mean. It's this kind of free space to play around with the tools that the game has given you, and you can do it as much or as little as you like, and just enjoy it. It just feels good.
Well, it's not very often a game gives you all the tools right at the beginning. The only thing that was missing from the Gauntlet was the Titan combat, and that's the only part you didn't get to touch on. Yeah. But like the full breadth of the game is there for you, literally in the first few seconds. It's amazing. Like I think that's a very good point.
They dropped you into the deep end, but they gave you like everything that you needed to learn how to swim, which makes this metaphor like completely fail, but.
Did we have weapons that we favoured in particular, or like that just we really enjoyed using?
Oh yeah,
Spitfire and L-Star, my two favourites. I love the L-Star because it turns people into paste.
The L-Star felt so good.
The Spitfire was one of my favorites, and the Flatline was another one of my favorites.
Was my favorite.
Yeah, I was about to say Flatline was good for me.
And the one shotgun was really it starts with an M, I believe. That one is really fun.
The guns work very well. I really like the G7 Scout as well. I like the marksman kind of. Yeah, just very satisfying.
None of the guns feel bad. I think that's kind of like the end of the day, nothing really feels bad about Titanfall 2, which is a feat and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole game felt like really just cohesive. Like everything played well together. You could pick up a weapon and feel like you could learn it, and like you understood the weapon right off the bat, which in a way kind of reminds me of like Halo. Halo's weapons, I think, also felt the same way. I grew up playing a lot of Halo 1 and Halo 2. So Kai, you can probably attest to this as well. But a lot of the weapons in Halo you could pick up. You understood how they felt and played, and they were all very distinct, but all very fun.
You have a reason to use each of them as well at some point. Like you'll use the Covenant to take down shields, and then the UNSC weapons to actually do proper damage to them, and you can kind of mix and match, especially with the plasma pistol as well. Like you can be very creative with that in terms of like shutting an enemy weapon.
SMG plasma pistol,
yeah, exactly.
So it definitely like there was weapons I felt like, oh, I favor this like in really close combat, but I really like I think it was the crossfire. I really enjoyed using the crossfire at like the medium range because the scope had a specific zoom that made it feel terrible close and terrible far away, but like
mid range is
at
so
a certain
good.
Distance. Yeah. So
that sweet spot.
Exactly. I love that shit.
Did anyone snipe? I never used the sniper rifle once in any of my playthroughs because it's just so antithetical to or it feels bad, like for me at least.
I liked to snipe a bunch over the campaign, but like I would always the problem with sniping, at least in like a lot of the campaign setups, is it was really just like, okay, here's somebody like across a really big warehouse room from me, so I'll just get a couple shots off before like I've got to start worrying about them moving up on me.
Yeah.
Everyone's swarming on you in like 5 seconds. You're like, well, at least I got one guy.
That felt good. Time to switch to the flatline.
So I actually used I cannot remember which of them because there's 2 sniper rifles, but I used it in Into the Abyss, I believe, when the not the stalkers, the bigger one, but like I had made it to like the end of the dome. And they have a weak point on the back. So what happened is like I just happened to still have it because I was using my primary weapon the whole time, which is Blessed L-Star. We love it.
Did you manage to save the grunts in that mission? Did you manage to keep him alive?
I did, and I managed to kill the. I cannot remember what they were called because it was just like immediate.
The medium-sized robots, right? Like they're not full time. Like they're called like Reapers or Reapers.
Reapers, I think.
Reapers. That's it. Yeah.
He was just turned around and facing them, and it just like hit it enough times, just like right where it counts, and it just went down like that. That felt great.
Fighting enemies is good. The one thing I don't like is shooting robots. I don't think there's enough like response when you actually hit them with a weapon. Like the what they call the Spectres and I forgot what the other one's called. There's like
Spectres
2 different types.
I think
like
Prowlers.
When you shoot them,
I don't know, Stalkers.
That's it. Yeah. Stalkers and they just don't feel like they don't react so much. I get because they're robots, but there's not a lot of like. It's the same thing with like Prometheans and Halo 4 and 5. Like they just don't really react like you've shot them. So it's not as satisfying. It's more satisfying to kill people.
Yeah, we want to see the anguish. What the fuck?
Yeah.
God, speaking of anguish, okay, like the one animation where when you walk up to like a dude like who's just like on foot in your mech. Did we all see that animation where they like throw their gun down and they just sort of like hang their head low?
No. Oh yeah,
yeah, that's insane.
Give up.
Like too busy stepping on people.
Well, I accidentally thought I had stepped on this dude and I was like, okay, let me think of where I need to go next. And suddenly I was like, oh my god, this guy's still alive. And he's just like. And his hands gun in front of him and it was just like, oh my god, this is insane. What a crazy detail to include. Let me step out and talk to that guy. So I stepped out and BT shot him. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oops.
They make feeling being in the Titan really powerful, and I love that.
Yeah. It's
so
really
good.
fun if you step out of the Titan as well, like during Titan combat to like do ground combat, just let BT have fun. Like it's like actually terrifying when there's like the bigger ones and then also like other Titans there, and you're just on the ground. You're like, holy fuck, they really do dwarf you, because when you're in it, it doesn't feel like the scale is like that crazy. But when you step out and you're next to BT fighting like a Ronin or one of the other builds, you're like, oh shit, I should probably get back into BT. This is really scared. Mom, pick me up. I'm scared.
I made a mistake.
Yeah, it's sick. My BT is really funny too. With like the whole like the smaller people, you just run them over and they get scared. There's a point where BT's like, smaller enemies you can run over. My 20-ton body will handle them.
Yeah, just like
it's like
step on.
Oh god.
All right, so now I think is a good time to get into the actual questions. I've got 3 kind of generic questions that tend to work for whatever we have set up. I'm going to start with Bryan, because you've been a little low-key. But so what were you expecting going into the game, and did it match that or change after playing?
So, I'll go ahead and say I'm not the best first-person shooter guy. I do enjoy playing Halo and Call of Duty growing up. Was I good at them? No. I still had fun dying a lot. So my expectation is I've seen a lot of Apex gameplay, and I'm like, wow, my mind and eyeballs cannot fathom all of these maneuvers, jumping all over the place, backflipping, whatever. Like I can't. Like I was expecting to just be overwhelmed with this game. Granted, I think it helped that we're just playing through the campaign, so I wasn't playing against humans, and that completely changed. Especially like the Gauntlet was awesome. I thought it was very clever way of easing us into the game. And I played on normal difficulty, and once I started getting used to the maneuvers, it felt natural. There wasn't any clunkiness to it. Aiming down the sight felt really, really crisp, really nice. Transitions were really good, and it surprised me. It blew me away just on a gameplay standpoint, that it just how smooth it was. And how old is this game now?
2016 release date.
Yeah, it's like 5 years old.
5 years old, and it runs beautifully. Like I played it on PC, mouse and keyboard, which all right with. I can hit a barn with a gun, but my expectations was a little, I guess, high for the difficult gameplay, but it played well. Smooth. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can. My little brother can probably wreck me in this game, but at least I can. I enjoyed the game. I played it, and I had fun. It was a fun game, and I wasn't frustrated with it. So
let's go to Kai, and I'm just gonna go counterclockwise. Yeah.
So I going into the game. Is this for this playthrough, like for Disc Space, or like when I first played it? Because I have played it a few times.
I think let's do like when you first played it. What were you expecting? Just sort of like with no context to
I
the
had
game?
played Titanfall 1. I remember I had a subscription to like the Xbox magazine, which sounds so old fashioned, like an actual physical print media. Oh my god. But just reading about like the different Titans you could play as, and the fact that you could call a Titan on someone and crush them with it, like and was very excited by that prospect. And then, got it and realized that there was no campaign, which I was quite a big story person at the time, but I really enjoyed the multiplayer. And then when I heard there was a second one coming out, I don't think I got it immediately, because I was just expecting it to be a repeat of the mistakes they made before, but then saw that there was some really good stuff about it, and I had a friend that had purchased it and said it was like amazing. And I got it and was totally like just surprised at how together it was as compared to the first one, at least. Like in the first one, I think they even like the sound files were all in WAV, and they didn't compress them into .ogg, which is what video games mostly do, right? So then the game is like 15 gigabytes like too big because they didn't compress all their sound files. So like they make these like really obvious mistakes, but then then suddenly make it such an amazing. Well, I think it's a masterpiece, like Titanfall 2. I think it's such a good, like, as a connoisseur of shooters, I've never had an experience like it, really. Especially, I mean, we're going to talk about missions later, but like even when you're not shooting, with effect and cause, and is it Into the Abyss is the one with the shifting platforms and shit.
With the dome.
It's just brilliant, just so fun to like run about. Like it really does this nice combination of shooting things to death and then running about like a madman. It's so good. I'm just completely surprised when I first play it. Playing it again is just fun to do it. Like sort of running through it. I just have a good time. It's simple.
It's just a good bite-sized game. Like it definitely like completely changed how I looked at like all of the geometry as I was playing. Just once my brain kind of like started to understand the movement.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Greg.
Yeah, when I first played this one, I had a college roommate who was into Titanfall for a bit, and I remember like watching, being like, "Oh, that rules." But like, I had heard that Titanfall 2, the campaign, was like a boy and his dog story, but the dog's a robot.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I was excited for
Pretty
that.
accurate.
I was really excited for that, and I didn't expect to be. I didn't expect to get. I'm sure compared to real humans that actually play Titanfall a whole lot, I'm probably not great at the whole hardcore parkour aspect of it, but like it felt good for me, damn it. So I didn't expect to feel so competent in the gameplay. So this is a point in its favor, but it's also a thing that like, I guess I did kind of expect a little more complexity going into it, which like it didn't owe me anything. It didn't owe me that, and it did not deliver. But honestly, by the end of it, I just had so much fun that like it didn't matter. Like everything about this game was just like every choice was like, what's the most fun thing that can happen here? What's the most fun thing you could do with this? Keep only the guns that are fun, as we talked about earlier. Yeah.
All right, Tony.
So I everything I heard about Titanfall 2 was mostly through TJ of the network, because he always constantly said Titanfall 2, the most underrated shooter 2016, and an incredible amount of variations of that. Titanfall, the best underrated Titan 2 of the spring. So that's the only thing I heard about it. And then and I had seen some gameplay on Twitch of just how fucking fast these people run out the walls, and they're just like swinging around. And I think online has a lot more mechanics, and stuff like that.
Way more abilities, which
So I think a lot of the complexity of the game really kind of shines in multiplayer. But going into the campaign as well, I didn't know what to expect. I had heard also that the first one didn't really have much in the way of a single player campaign, and was pleasantly surprised. Narratively, I was like, okay, it's kind of a generic kind of sci-fi plotline with some, I guess I'll say that spoilery part, but with like some plot points that I'm usually just kind of roll my eyes at. But I ended up enjoying how they used it's kind of a way to distort the shape of the environment you're in. I won't go into what that actually means, but you could kind of change the way the environment shifts around you, and you had to use that to platform around, and it was really, really cool. And so even though I don't like narratively what really was going on, I enjoyed it mechanically a lot. And just going through the different builds on the Titan felt really, really, really fun, which I wasn't really kind of expecting. I found myself favoring certain builds and not really playing others, but there was others that are like, wow, this feels really good in these situations. Just like the guns. You have certain guns for certain situations. There's certain Titan builds that feel really good when you're against other Titans, against one other Titan. And overall, I really enjoyed the journey with BT. And had an attachment to the robot more than I thought I would. And I beat it all in one sitting. Told Amy and Jackie,
you did 1 8-hour sitting.
This as my one of my weekend days, because I am playing Titanfall 2 all day. And it was good enough that I wanted to beat it in one sitting, and I did. And I came away very, very surprised at how much I enjoyed it, because I'm not a shooter guy either, really.
Which builds? Which Titans? Okay, this is actually, I'm curious about everyone.
I really liked... I liked Ronin, but I died a lot as Ronin because I don't play defensively with the sword. And
yeah.
I really like the one that had the barrier that pops up in front of you and you can lock on with the missiles. It's like the second one.
Tone is so
I
fucking good.
loved.
Kind of the best one.
Yeah,
Tone
Tone is pretty. Yeah,
easy
it's
mode.
just like it's very well rounded. It's got offense, defense. The sniper one is very fun.
I personally really liked Scorch. Just because, like, it felt really good to just, like, go around, light stuff on fire, do, like, a fucking, like, power slam.
Scorch was really good indoors. I used that a lot when we were, like, indoors fighting Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No escape.
What were you saying, Kai? Your favorites?
Yeah, Tone and Ronin, definitely. I love doing Ronin. I love not even shooting with that. I think I use the sword more than I use the gun, because it's just funny to sprint up to people and just slash from side to side, because I like to imagine the pilots and the other Titans just shitting themselves.
Yeah, like,
It's
what
a
the
fucking
fuck?
insane sword-wielding Titan. Like, it's the future, but you've got a big hunk of metal in your hands. It's beautiful. I love it.
I
Just,
saw
yeah.
you can see the names of all the builds before you unlock them. So like I saw Ronin, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get a motherfucking sword, baby. Let's go.
See, that was my same exact reaction, because I am a sucker for wielding a sword, and especially in like a gun focused game. I'm like, I'll be that different guy. I'll wield this sword. Was I good at it? Absolutely not. I did not. I was like Tony. I'm like, what do you mean defense with
Blocking
I
is
just
for
wanna
cowards.
stabby.
We don't block here. What do you think this is?
Right? I'm like, oh, okay. Let me just go back to Tone. That's just okay.
Don't block here.
I do love that there's like that kind of like traditional swordplay like representation in the game, and that's something that Kai and I were actually talking about because we just saw Dune, and I think Kai, are you reading Dune now as well? Yeah.
No, he's reading it first, so
Gotcha.
I'm waiting, but yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about like swords in a sci-fi setting is so fun, and that's something that Dune does, and that Gundam also
has a lot of that, especially Iron-Blooded Orphans. But
Iron-Blooded Orphans,
yeah, and it's so fun.
Currently available on YouTube.
Oh god, I need to watch all the Gundam stuff.
Both seasons.
I think I'm going to start going into like a Titan or like a mecha craze and just spiral into watching it.
That's a deep hole to fall into.
I definitely recommend IBO because it was so approachable and so entertaining that after I finished it, I was like,
it is a gateway.
It was a gateway to like other Gundam shit. And, like I hadn't actually watched it.
It's definitely a good first step.
The International Baccalaureate.
Yeah.
What? IBO.
No, not the IB program for high school students. Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Now, for me, I'm not a shooter guy. All I knew about this was that they're giant robots, and I am a sucker for mecha. I love me some giant robots. So I did not expect the game to feel so fluid or so fun, and the movement to like be as nice as it was. I was expecting cool mech shit. So I would say my expectations were matched and exceeded with that, because the Titans felt so good. And like BT and like the whole story felt very similar to Full Metal Panic for me. This is a reference for pretty much nobody, but highly recommend check that one out. That's sort of the easiest touchstone for me of like, there's an AI robot, they're super powerful, they're super cool, and then you become friends, and you would die for them. It's great.
Big part of the journey. You and BT as the player. It's they definitely hit the nail on the head with that one.
Such a sweetheart. I just love that fucking
will die for him.
Well, it was you
will
posted
die
in the
for
chat
him.
a screenshot, Greg, of like when he's trying to escape
Oh
from
my
the
god!
arm.
Okay. So the super so Titanfall 2 for the campaign does loading screens, like static image loading screens with like little mission details. And one mission, a big old crane arm like grabs BT.
That was Into the Abyss.
And he's like trapped. Into the Abyss, yeah, big old crane arm grabs BT. He's like firing off missiles and struggling to get out. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to get out. Initiating attempts to escape. So the loading screen pops up. And it's like, BT situation log. Situation. Trapped on mechanical arm. Initiating escape attempt number 35. Attempt failed. Initiating escape attempt number 36. Attempt failed. And then the very next level, because you haven't seen him yet, the loading screen is then situation. Still trapped by mechanical arm. Initiating escape attempt 137. Attempt failed. And it's just like, you're such an idiot. I love you.
I love this giant robot child.
But like, there's really heartfelt moments with him as well, where like he talks about Lustimosa and like says, "Oh yeah, it's like we used you close," and he goes, "Oh yeah, like I served with him for like this many years, this many months. He was a good friend." I just started like really sad because I don't know, it's just hurt.
They did a really great job of like characterizing this robot. Like they made him feel, you know, a robot, like he's not human. You know that, like, without a doubt, like that's no argument about that.
The voice actor achieves this balance of like robotic but also emotion in like such an like it's really fine tuned. Like it's kind of this perfect, like it's not one way or the other. I think it does a really good job with that. Definitely.
I think one of my favorite moments, just like to highlight that, is when you actually do first pick up the tone loadout, and he's just describing the loadout of just like all the power that it's got. And just like one of the like dialogue options is like, "Ooh, it sounds like someone's in love," and BT's just like, "Analysis. Love is like a strong feeling, affection,
respect, admiration,
satisfaction.
Yeah.
Conclusion: I am 50% in love," and just like that fucking killed me.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it ended up being a funnier game than I was expecting to. Like the humor wasn't like never really felt forced. It felt very organic, and I think it worked really well. So I was also pleasantly surprised by that. And the banter was always very on point because you get to play it straight, or you could like play it funny.
Next up, and this is the big one, guys. What was the moment that stuck with you most narratively or in gameplay?
Here we go.
Spoilers, obviously. Right. You can't talk about it without spoilers.
This is major spoilers. If you don't like it, sorry guys, you're gonna have to come back in a little bit. Let's start with Tony because you went kind of last because I'm not counting myself.
I think when it's towards the end of the game when you have the arc, I think it's called, the main like weapon or whatever that's you're trying to stop, and it's inside of BT and he won't let it go, and you're captured and he's like suspended and he's like, you know, obviously on the verge of decommissioning the robot, and the main bad guy, you know, kind of like fucks him up and he tricks him, and then you get away. And then, like, you think you're about to say, like, your final goodbyes to BT. And I was like, please take his eye. Please take his eye. Please take his eye. I'm like, it's probably the brain. Please take. And then he's like, take my core or whatever. And it has the gun, it has the knife. And then that part's really fun. And then that kind of catharsis where you get to summon the new Titan and you get to place his core in it. And he's back. I think that was kind of like, it's a little expected, but because it seemed too abrupt to not be like the actual conclusion of BT.
So I have something funny to say about both of these things, but please continue.
I mean, I think that's really it. Like, once he's back and stuff like that, it felt like, I think they did an okay enough job of making you sad that he was gone and may not come back. And though I kind of expected we'd be able to just like pop him back in and he'd be back, I think that was just like a really sweet moment. And I thought that was fun. Very narratively.
That felt like sort of the emotional climax of the game. So the fun facts that I have, at the very beginning in like Pilot's Gauntlet, as you're sort of like getting ready to go into the actual gauntlet in the VR simulation, you can actually see Lastimosa setting up the little kind of like survival kit pack for that scene. Additionally, the Titan that you call at the end of like the Pilot's Gauntlet is the same listing number as the new body for BT. It's just this kind of fun little like full circle like narrative conclusion.
I hadn't noticed that. That's so cute.
That makes
really cool.
that whole ending even like a bit more thought out and endearing. I like that.
It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
The emotional like moment of that, like he loses BT, and the fact that like the character doesn't say anything, even when people are talking to him, like he's not talking. Which kind of shows that he's genuinely like really pissed off. Yeah. He's running around with the smart pistol, which is gorgeous to use. Of like, you know, just aimbot, but it's a game mechanic. And then you just like sprint along and then just destroying people. And he's like so pissed that he's just not saying anything, even when he should be. I don't know. It's just so sick. It's just a good like way of showing that, because it doesn't even let you choose dialogue options.
It's just you go.
I'm saving my friend BT.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. And then we're going to circle back around for gameplay, but I think we all have, like, more or less one thing in mind for that one.
Well, yeah, so well, I guess I can't pick that moment.
You can, like...
oh, you could.
Deliberate.
I genuinely do think, as far as the narrative goes, I kind of already said it, I think. I think it was the when BT was caught in the mechanical arm before Into the Abyss. It was
so sweet.
It was like it was specifically after a big sequence where you got to be in BT, and for the most part were facing like ground troops. Yeah. And like you felt like super duper powerful, and you were like, as long as I got you, BT, like
and
this is fine. And then BT gets like snatched away, but like in
ever go wrong
in a funny way.
Yeah.
Like he's not like dead. He's just like he needs your help, and it was just like yeah. I'm a pilot. I'm gonna help my friend. He's helped me. I'm gonna help him. And so the entire level was kind of like charged up on like I'm gonna fucking help my friend BT. Yeah. I'm gonna get you out of there, man.
All right.
Sorry, I was just thinking about this game.
Just narratively. You're in the right place.
Narratively, the moment where you do the first fastball, where you're trying to get to the dish, the radar dish, and he like picks you up, and you have this really swell of the music, and he looks at you and goes, "Trust me," and then fucking yeets you across this gap. It's like the way the music goes and the way that he says it, and this kind of like. I think "trust me" is like a motif. I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, it's said a lot of like.
There's a lot of people,
and so it's like this really beautiful, and it becomes like their thing of like this is the connection they have. Is that he fucking throws you like a tennis ball as hard as he can.
They even refer to it as fastball later.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't know, that whole moment, and just the music does a really good job of kind of like emphasizing the emotional, importance of that. I think it's just I don't know, it feels good. It's good.
Bryan.
All right. So, I'll come out and say it. I did not have time to completely finish the narrative.
No.
But I did get to the most important level.
We're going to get to it in a second.
Thoroughly enjoy that, but we'll get to that later. So I'll go what got to me narratively, and I'm always a sucker for character building and relationship building, and I thought for this campaign from you first linking up with BT, and as you go through the levels, I just felt like it was a good connection, relationship growth between you and BT, and the banter evolves throughout the game, and so I enjoy those type of moments, and it does, you're playing a shooter game, you're blasting the hell out of enemies, and then you just have those little small enjoyable moments where you're just like, oh, I am human. I enjoy this. All right, let's go to the bloodshed. Okay, then you have like it's a nice little treat to have narratively as you're going through the game, and you see this relationship blossoming, and it just, I mean, again, I would die for BT. It's just
he's the homie.
He's the homie.
He's my homie.
Outside of the ones that have already been said, there is a moment towards the end ish, before things really just like go to shit, where you're not supposed to be like a pilot, like as a character, which is part of like the whole like setup of like, wow, pilots, they're the best, they're great, they just like stomp all the bad guys and they always win. Just very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed look at what that kind of life would be. And you link up with the kind of main fleet that you've been separated from for the entirety of the game up to that point due to the conflict. And the moment of just, he's a gunner? He's a rifleman? Like, we could get you a real pilot. And BT's like, no, he is my pilot. Yeah. We're friends. And like, that got me. That got me good.
Yeah. Sweet.
Because at first, I at least wasn't sure how to feel about BT and sort of like my relationship with him. Because it's kind of like, it's this weird feeling of like, I feel like the rebound pilot.
You're not even officially a pilot yet.
Yeah, we're not really a pilot. Like, at that beginning moment, we're kind of just the guy who was around for the moment, like, when it was really, like, down to the wire, right at the beginning of the game. And so, going from, like, I don't know how this is going to work or how this is going to feel, to, like, I can do this, to, like, no, it's serious. You helped me, I helped you, and now, like, we're in this together. That really got me. Alright, now gameplay. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about cause and effect.
Effect and cause.
Effect and cause.
Effect and cause. God damn it. I'm a fake fan, I'm sorry. Kai has been itching to talk about this, I think, for like the better part of a month.
My life basically. I think this mission is just so cool. It has such a great like curve in terms of to giving you the thing and then giving you like showing you like without explicitly like the little pop up of like how to use it in certain situations. Like, oh, there's a laser grid. Go to the present where there is no laser grid. Walk through. Go back, and then it kind of puts enemies in front of you, and then it can kind of. I don't know, and then it gets like insane when you're like free running, and then you have to switch as you're jumping to be able to wall run against the next thing, and then jump again, and then switch. Or when you're falling down the vent, and like you have to switch to not be like, burned to death, and then switch to not be cut up by the fans. Yeah, exactly. And it's just so incredibly fun to be in the middle of fighting, and then just switch, get behind the guy, switch again, and punch him in the back of the head, and then just like, it's so much fun to just. I don't know. It just gets me so excited. Like I would just play that mission. Like it's that and the gauntlet, basically. Like it's just I don't know. It's
you're like, oh shit, these dogs are on me. Let me go back. Let me kill some humans. Go back, fight the dogs on the other side of the room. Hell yeah!
Like the attention to detail is like really good because you can kill someone in the past and then you jump forward and their bodies will be on the floor where you left them. Or did you interrupt the guy giving the speech in that like conference hall? Like when you're walking through and he's talking, and then you run up to him and go like, he goes, "Oh yes, pilot." And then if you go and listen to the recording on the computer he was talking onto, that interruption is in the recording.
Holy shit!
And, like,
really?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's so fucking cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, like, yeah, just the level of like sort of guiding you and showing you the different parts. It just feels like it's been really fine tuned to make it as smooth and as fun as possible. And it works. It just works. Like, yeah, I love that mission so much.
Affected Cause is just something special.
Absolutely.
Like, I can't think of a mission in another shooter that's like similar, really. I mean, maybe I'm just not. Or even like, I mean, I'm sure there are games that have that kind of mechanic as a thing, but like, am I like just not thinking straight? Or
there's definitely like games that do that, but the thing is, I don't.
There's definitely other.
This was just like one level. It was kind of like incidental. It was just like, hey, this would be cool, and then they added it, and it's
very memorable, and it didn't overstay its welcome. It's definitely a highlight of the game, but wasn't the entire game, and it was cool.
I don't think they would have been able to have put the same kind of attention to detail as they put in if it was not like just one level.
Yeah, I think
which is
so.
Wild.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, did people get into it like quite quickly, or like in terms of the mechanic, or was it?
It took me a little bit to kind of like get it really sorted. I know for me, one of the kind of funny things was getting like, it's fairly early on in, and they're just like, yeah, there's just this pilot here, he's moving erratically, he's been killing all these dudes, and at that point, I hadn't killed anyone in the past, so it's just like, there's someone else here?
Wonder who that's for.
What's going on?
Yeah, weird.
That was a very wild level. Anyone have anything to add for Affected Cause?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I really enjoyed it, and I'm used to. I mean, I've definitely done that type of mechanic in other games. So the only one that pops in recently right now is Ratchet and Clank did something similar to that, and I'm so used to that in other games where it's just the primary focus is mainly puzzles and platforming with those type of aspects, and to see that you can abuse this power in combat was phenomenal. I wanted all of the cookies in the cookie jar at that point. I was having you're like, ooh, that's a big bad group. Zoop. Okay, let me go behind, and then bash them from behind. Being able to use that in combat was so satisfying, and that was at the beginning of that level. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is cool. I've done this before. All right, like, crazy platforming, try to time everything correctly, and then getting to incorporate that in combat was the golden ticket for me. That so satisfying.
For me, it was the damn shield guys, the guys that had the big barrier in front of them. And so you're in front of them in one part, and then you're like, all right, let me switch the other ones. Oh fuck, let me fight these dogs. All right, I got to be behind. I'm gonna get behind them.
Zoop.
You you switch over, you throw the remote control bomb. I'm just like, my Battlefield 4 brain just like with the C4s just started like it's drunk with power, and I'm like, you just throw the satchel, I think is what it's called, in the middle, and you just blow them up. And you're like, fuck your shields, bro. And you're like, yeah, you're powerless now, and your ass is hanging out, and and that was like very. Yeah, that was like one of my favorite parts of the level. And also, yeah, the wall jumping and just having to platform while changing.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely felt like I was surprised I was able to multitask that so well, and it felt like natural because it's far enough in the game that you've gotten comfortable with the skills where like that kind of starts to feel a bit natural.
I think what really makes Effect and Cause stand out with like the combat, especially as the platforming is good, but the platforming is like a deliberate thing. Like, okay, the puzzle here is you're gonna have to jump around and switch here. With the combat, it did kind of feel like I was cheating somehow, but the game was letting me. So the fact that it felt really transgressive, I was like, oh, I can just time travel exists in this universe and I can just abuse it? I can just keep going back and forth right now? Okay. I really can just go behind this guy and now I'm behind him and he doesn't... Okay.
He keeps disappearing is like what the soldiers are saying too, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
Because it felt like I was like getting one over onto this game, even though the game's like 100% letting me do it. Like that part sticks in my head so much more than like the platforming, which was cool, but it was just like, hey, so what crazy shit did you guys get up to in Effect and Cause, huh?
You really like once you get kind of rolling with the combat, you feel like fucking like Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, just like,
oh my god, yes.
What the fuck are you going to do? I control time.
Yeah, the fun of Effect and Cause outweighed my narrative gripes with time travel. Like, that's what I was trying to, like, not really, I guess it doesn't matter. Like, I have, like, I hate most time travel plots, but I was having so much fun that I'm like, I'm turning my brain off, and I'm just
It was the funniest shit when it was just like, they're developing some sort of time travel thing, and I was like, oh yeah, they're trying, right? Like, this seems like a pretty hard sci-fi, and then it's like, here it is, their time travel device, and I was like, oh, okay, this is hilarious. What a great game.
It's just like secret new technology, and all of a sudden BT is talking to the past. I've updated your files so that I can talk to you through time. I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
It really was just like, we're giving just like the barest minimum of like connective tissue for the narrative to make this work. But mostly like, this is just so you can have fun.
Titanfall 2 is all about fun. It was so good.
I was less angry. I was like, the first, I didn't take notes the whole time until I got to that. My first note is, I hate time travel. BT just magically able to establish communications across time. And then the next note is, fun as hell, though, to pop in and out of the timeline to kill and people and get to save points. And I was just like, you could just see my tone change as I was just like, I just accepted it for what it was, and that it's just meant for fun.
Oh, it felt so good.
It just felt like a little kid playing with brand new toys, man. It was great.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any other kind of moments?
I think everything after that point is the one where you're running around the power plant with your like electricity gun and like turning off fans as you're sprinting around the walls. And then also the one where you're going for the raid audition, moving platforms, and then there's another one as well. And also right at the end, where you're like wall running along, like falling bits of debris after this thing's exploded. It feels that's all after Effect and Cause, and it all feels like they really just went, you know what, fuck it, let's just really mess with the. I think maybe it's Into the Abyss that did it as well, in terms of like shifting these kind of buildings and like going sideways and flipping all which way, whatever. And I think just taking the fact that you can wall run and then changing the floor to a wall and then changing the, this, that, I don't know. I think really just messing with the concept of a free running game in that, where you're actually free running and what you're doing while you're doing it, I think is a really kind of, it's just nice. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, like along that point too, like you got to give them credit for the level design because it's like they throw something new to you constantly throughout the game, just to keep you satisfied. And you're like, ooh, a new challenge. Okay, ooh, everything's moving around. Ooh, time travel.
Yeah.
They did such a great job, just like throwing a little more and more, and like it kind of blows your mind too, because you're just like, how
they change things up often enough, but they also don't make it difficult to know where to go next. The moment that kind of sticks out to me, and it's from very early on in the game when you're trying to get batteries for BT, and like just the first like real level was just wherever you need to go, they have light, visible light being like different enough that like this is where you need to go. So it feels very natural in game to just like, oh, this is where I need to progress. The amount of hours that I've spent in fucking Half-Life 2 in Ravenholm, specifically because I didn't know where to fucking go.
Yeah, I had that with Halo.
I will die mad about Half-Life 2 and Ravenholm, especially because people, it's like, this level is great, and it's like, this level is great once I know where to fucking go. Titanfall 2 did a great job of, like, even though everything feels, like, so, like, malleable and moving constantly, and this just, like, so much dimensionality of, like, where you can go and how you can get to different places, I never felt lost, which is incredible. Like, that is a feat.
Yeah, usually when you say a game is linear, often it can be a negative. Titanfall 2 felt like it had enough like movement freedom, especially where you're on all the different buildings and you're trying to get to where you have to get to that big dish to get the thing to find the whatever. I don't remember the story.
The story. You're looking for the MacGuffin to get the next MacGuffin.
Exactly.
You're trying to summon the fleet or something.
There's a good army and a bad army. You're part of the good army.
Yeah.
You're the good plucky rebels.
Exactly. But like when you're like going from like those different, they're like little skyscrapers in the air. Like you're really high up in the air and you're jumping around, and that's like you can take so many different routes and then move and open doors because you still have the gun at that point that like operate stuff. Being able to just kind of take whatever course you want, and then it really just felt like a playground. Like that was a very big open playground, which I think I expected a little bit more of that in the game, to have a bit more movement options for platforming levels, because most of it was like there is like kind of one route and you have to do it in like a platforming way, but getting to that level and it's like I can just jump around and do whatever. Oh, and then the level that you're in that simulation and you just have to survive for long enough until BT can get you out. I was like, I try to fight and I just like kept dying. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna try to be at. I'm fast as fuck, boy. Like, you know, and you just have to like dodge for like 3 minutes as like you're getting bombarded. Like that gameplay wise felt so satisfying, and I was just running. I'm just like booking it, not even trying to fight back.
It's wild to have a shooter game where it's fun not to be shooting people.
Yeah.
Having that vertical dimension adds so much to the gameplay. Other than that, like Battlefield, obviously there's multiple levels, but you don't really get to platform. Like there's not like that speed and that vertical. And I think kind of talked about playing Battlefield a bunch. Maybe I was talking to someone else about Battlefield, but Battlefield's really, really, really fun. And I got to play the game kind of like Battlefield sometimes, and then I got to be really, really fast other times. It kind of lets you play how you want, I think.
It says, you're at A, here's B, you need to get to B, do what you want.
Yeah.
Have fun.
That stuck out to me gameplay-wise.
What did people think of, like, the boss battles? And I think that term is used quite loosely, because I feel like they weren't really... They were just longer fights. Like, it didn't feel like it was a battle.
Yeah, it wasn't
The only one that I had any real difficulty with was fucking Viper up in the air.
Yeah, Viper you were meant to... Yeah.
That was very cool,
That was cool, but it was annoying. I died so many times.
I mean, I guess, like, compared to the other ones, which were just kind of like, you're locked in a room with, like, one other significant mech, and then maybe there's a couple of mooks there that you can, like, they're basically just health packs.
Do you mean use tone and just, like,
use
fucking
tone?
obliterate them?
Yeah. So in our Discord, when we were talking about this, when we were not talking about this directly, but we were in the Disc Space channel, Kai had been like, "Oh, Ash is gonna show up in Apex Legends," and Kai was like, "You mean Ash, salvo cord in the face, surname?" It's like, yeah, that's just how you win most of the boss fights, because the tone is just the best at. It's just the best at 1v1 because you hit them 3 times with a gun that like it fires a projectile that explodes, and if the explosion hits them, you get a lock on. Hit them 3 times with the to get a lock on, and then
shoulder rockets.
Shoulder rockets, and then if you do that enough, you get more rockets if that's necessary.
Yep. I really liked a lot of the like Salvo Core and all the other like big finishers. The one that was the giant chest beam felt so fucking...
Yes.
I forgot which build that was. I played that.
I think that was Ion?
Ion.
Yeah, Ion, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
I loved Ion because it was like kind of before you got the sniper build, I forgot what it's called, you had Ion, and the shoulder cannon was like the charge beam, and that felt so satisfying. And then you have that big chest laser. They made a lot of the finishing moves feel so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Sword Core is so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in a giant mech. Like they got to make it flashy and exciting, and just
as they should
gunning down like the lesser titans towards the end when you're like fighting like multiple like Ronins and things like and other tones. Yeah. And you're just like blasting through like 3 of them at a time, and you're like, and then you see their health bar, boom, and then you hit the next one, boom, and you're like, I just killed 3 titans with 1 chest beam. I feel like a fucking bamf.
That last like big engagement with like all the titans after you're like formerly a pilot. You're formerly a pilot. You're with other allied pilots and facing just a force of other titans. It was like a big like war is hell sequence.
Yeah,
it was like it was like it genuinely like was really fun, also pretty challenging, and like honestly, I was like I finished it and I was just like, I wonder if that's what playing Titanfall multiplayer feels like, because I died a lot more than like the boss fights.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
I did like the characters of the Apex Predators. I thought they were quite fun. Like, they were all very stereotypically evil, but
they were very distinct with their personalities, and I think that helped a lot. We've already mentioned like Ash a couple of times, but I really like how Ash was kind of toying with you the whole time as you're just like going through things, and then her boss calls in and is just like, just kill him already. And she's like, aren't I allowed to have a little bit of fun? He's like, not when it affects your work. And she's like, fair point. Let's get serious.
There was, I'm trying to remember, there's the German one, and his villain trait is that he's German, apparently. That's his thing.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Oh, he cuts people's ears off. Yeah, that's it. He cuts people's ears off. And then there's the drug addict, and then there's Sloan, who's Sloan. And then there's...
Sloan, yep.
There's Blisk, who is...
He's the boss. He's the boss guy.
He's the big bad. He's the smart guy.
Yeah, he's the boss guy. Oh, and then Viper. Because fuck Viper. But...
Viper was definitely, I think, the coolest, though. Because I was like, man... Yeah. I was like, I saw that, I'm like, I want to fly around. That looks fucking fun. Do I get to do this? I was a little sad when I was like, do I get a loadout that makes me fly? Which you kind of do with the sniper
but not like Viper.
No.
That's like Son of the Ender shit right there.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, I am Pharah from Overwatch. Let's fucking go. I got rockets. I fly around.
I thought it was so funny how he's basically like cosplaying a fucking fighter pilot, and it's like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny. It's like, I'm taking this way too seriously, and it's just like, yeah, you are. Sorry, boss. Alright, if this is one in the series, which, well, it is, would you check out the other games? Now, this is kind of a tricky one relative to this one, because both Apex Legends and Titanfall 1 are wildly different, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
But, like, say theoretically they were to make, like, a Titanfall 3 for some reason, because Apex stops printing money. Would you check it out?
If they have a campaign, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did people not touch the multiplayer then?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, if there's... I played a few rounds, and I did not win any of. I had fun. It's definitely a culture shock going from like campaign. And you're like, I got it, and then just like, oh, these people have been playing since 2016.
Yeah, there is 300 people still playing online, and they've all been playing for 5 years.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I'm the guppy here. Get your free kills right here. But I mean, it's fun exploring the maps and
Spider-Manning around like a.
Yeah, so it was definitely like if a Titanfall 3 came out, if it had the campaign, definitely go for it. And I think that would be a good time for me to also go and enjoy the multiplayer. It's just for Titanfall's 2's sake, it's just hard to like jump into it now when pretty much only like veterans play.
Hear that response?
So yes, I would buy.
Please do anything aside from more Apex Legends. You can do 2 things.
Give us an Apex campaign.
I just like giant robots.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's really none of that. It's pretty much an arena shooter for Apex, right? It's like a hero arena shooter, kind of like.
Yeah, there are some like.
Well, I've heard it's like CS:GO and Overwatch mixed together. You have some of the abilities, but it's more of an arena shooter, like CS:GO, like Counter-Strike, or something like that. Is that correct, or is it more of a battle royale?
I'd say it's more of a battle royale. It's definitely, the map is so massive that it is like, it's got the battle royale experience of, I've not come across a single person. Oh, there's a person. Oh, I'm dead. And that's the end of the.
I didn't even see who killed me.
Yeah, exactly. I came 7th, but I didn't see a single person. I did 0 damage, so it's fine.
Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with Valorant. I think that's my issue.
Yeah,
Valorant is more like a CS:GO Overwatch kind of hybrid.
Media trends.
I do play Apex with Eve and Eve's mates, and but now my mates. I don't know why I say her mates; they're my friends as well. But we play it a lot, and it's very. They have they do have an arenas thing that's kind of a bit like CS:GO in that you sort of, there's teams of 3 and you run in and do all that sort of stuff. It's not the same style as Titanfall. It just happens to be in the same universe and uses the same weapons, but you don't even move the same because there's no wall running, so it's kind of.
Oh
yeah.
It feels like that could have been the real we're the battle royale that has wall running.
Yeah, you'd think they haven't even added a character whose ability is wall running. They've got all of the abilities you get in Titanfall has an equivalent character with it, but none of them can wall run, which is it's fun to wall run. It's sick. I don't know.
Yeah, it just feels good. Titanfall just feels good. Tony, if they made a Titanfall 3, or would you check out Titanfall 1?
So probably not Titanfall 1 for the same issues that we had mentioned before, is that it didn't really have a definitive campaign that I think would really interest me. So maybe I would check it out if it was super on sale, but I would definitely play Titanfall 3 if there was a campaign. So pretty much echoing what Bryan said.
Kai, already playing Apex?
Yeah, I already play Apex, not that much these days, but I do have a great love of that game. And the characters and stuff. I've played Titanfall 1, I'm not going to go back, I'm not going to spend my money on that. I want a Titanfall 3 to come out. I'm desperate for a Titanfall 3 to come out because, we're not getting BT again. But we'll get someone better.
There's no one better than BT though.
So I actually have a thing for that. A little slight, mild thing, but at the very, 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 very tail end of the campaign, big spoilers, the very last cutscene, your helmet flashes in binary, and it's asking Jack ?
Oh, I saw the flashing, but didn't know what it meant.
Now you do. BT might not be totally dead.
It's back in time.
He added himself to your helmet, so BT might still be around.
Very cute.
Interesting.
Now we just need an actual game for him to be in.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
BT playable character in Apex Legends.
As long as they don't make him evil, evil.
Oh god. Evil Cortana. As if Cortana couldn't get any better.
Speaking of evil, though, I think it would be really fun if Apex Legends keeps printing money, and it's a good way to make an interesting Titanfall 3 and justify it would be if you focused on Apex. Let us be an Apex predator and participate in the dumb space war between the good army and the bad army. What if my robot was a bastard?
Yeah,
BT was very nice.
I like games with gray. It's very good versus evil, and a lot of these war games are.
That was exactly so what I was alluding to in the beginning, where I was expecting more complexity. I was expecting in the beginning when they were yeah, we're the super duper good army and the other people are bad, and I was oh, we're separated from our unit. We about to learn that maybe are we the baddies? And it's no, they're so bad they want to use a time machine to blow a planet up.
Yeah.
And it's oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no gray. It is black and white, and that's why narratively I'm it's okay. It was fun enough that I don't really care about the storyline that much. Do you want to know
something weird about the first game?
I would love to know something weird.
They still had that black and white, yet you could play as both sides in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So it was weird that like, oh yeah, we're the evil bastards that love capitalism and murder, and then but like play as us though, and it's like okay, like I don't know, it's kind of like playing as the Empire in a Star Wars game, whereas like without
it's like we're space
yeah,
Nazis.
like like in Battlefront 2, like Iden Versio eventually. Spoilers, but you don't always like. There's reasoning for this, that, and the other, and you can change. But like in that, it's just we're awful. Play as this faction. So okay, I don't want to help the bad guys win. It sucks. Like.
That's some incredible narrative dissonance, I have to say. Like,
I love it.
Holy shit.
Well, sometimes it's fun to be evil. Sometimes it's fun to be mustache twirling evil.
One of my favorite games is Dungeon Keeper 2. You are literally evil monsters killing the good humans. Like, that is the entire
plot.
plot.
Like cartoonishly
It's
evil. This is like bureaucratic evil, and it's just like, that just sucks, though.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Why is this so relatable?
It's like, yeah, I want to be the Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim. There is enough separation, I guess, between IRL and geopolitical military stuff that we see in the everyday world, and a space or in a fantasy assassination guild. Like, there's enough difference between that those lines don't really blur. But in something like Titanfall,
it's wild. But they set things up of like, all right, here's the very, like, kind of realistic bad guys. Here's their whole shtick. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, they suck a lot. They're just bad.
They're terrible.
They're just bad.
That's horrible.
There's nothing sexy about this. They're just bad.
Yeah.
It feels
Just
bad.
terrible indeed.
I'm going to echo the sentiment of, I would check out Titanfall 3. I might check out Titanfall 1 just because, like, now I'm, like, kind of morbidly curious. But just like, if it's on sale, probably like I'll take a look.
Kai's looking like no, maybe.
I mean, it's if it's cheap, like definitely. But it's really not like. And also, I don't think anyone plays a multiplayer anymore, so you can't play the campaign. You physically can't play the campaign without other people.
Oh, wow!
Because it's multiplayer with cutscenes and dialogue, basically.
Gosh.
So it's like, yeah. So you might not be able to.
Yeah, that was an interesting gimmick that I had heard about for the first one. That the story was just through
interesting.
The multiplayer.
That does change the ability to play that.
Yeah.
Maybe if we all queue in at the same time, it'll pair us all together.
Let's all get Titanfall 1!
Hey, listeners, get Titanfall 1. We'll all play it together. It'll be great. Probably.
Yeah, move over whatever we're playing next month.
Welcome to Disc Space. This is a podcast where we talk about Titanfall.
Surprise!
Spin-off episode where we talk about Apex.
I'm pretty happy with where this thing ended up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, that was Titanfall 2. Let's get our sign-offs, and then I will let you know what it is that we are playing next month. I'm Guy. You can reach me through, let's just say, Twitter at ghosts_train. Greg?
I've been Greg Carrobis. If you enjoyed my presence here or Guy's work here, Ghosts on a Train. That's our podcast at those places. But I'm also on Twitter at Gerg Candlestick.
Gerg, Gerg. I'm Tony with East Coast Adventures. You can find us at either through the network, Faustian Nonsense on Twitter, or at ECA_RPG. A lot of ECA stuff coming soon.
Yay.
Very excited about that. Brian.
My name's Bryan. I am also with East Coast Adventures, aka Dungeon Daddy, and you can reach me through the same exact resources as Tony explained.
I'm Kai. Oh god, what do I talk about? I do Chain of Being. It's a sci-fi audio drama. I also create sound art pieces, which is like a total left turn from Chain of Being, but I'm going to try and promote it more. I also write as well on the Faustian Nonsense blog about like sound and sound arts and audio drama. I think quite eloquently, but you'll judge for yourself if you read them.
I second that motion.
This has been Disc Space. Next month we will be playing through Transistor, so looking forward to that.
Woo! I suggested that one.
I've been wanting to play all those games by those companies. What is the company called?
Supergiant Games.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
So yeah, I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. If you want to reach Disc Space for whatever reason, we have an email, discspacepod@gmail.com. Might have a Twitter by the time this goes up. I don't know. I hate social media. I'm an old man. For now, if you want to form your own disk space, there will be links in the show notes for our questions, and until then, we are ejecting. Have fun, cadets.
Brought to you by Faustian Nonsense and
Tony DiCaro-Smith, Marketing Director of Faustian Nonsense and player in East Coast Adventures.
Bryan Malave, part of the East Coast Adventures group, the Dungeon Master, or Dungeon Daddy as they call me, of the Traveler's Tales Dungeons & Dragons campaign.
Greg Carrobis. I run and edit Ghosts on a Train. You can find me on Twitter at GurgCandlestick.
My name is Kai Gwynn Pritchard. I create Chain of Being, and you can find me at My Name Is Not Kai, and that's Kai with a C, because I'm Welsh.
Guy Zwiebel from Ghosts on a Train at Ghosts_Train on Twitter.
Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing.